there may not be a better way to catch them than with the flipping technique. But sometimes when you're fishing this type of heavy cover, you can't penetrate it with just your normal gear. So you've really got to beef up your tackle quite a bit, from the rods and reels that you fish, to the line that you're going to put on them, to the hooks and weights that you're going to use. But with one exception, I don't usually beef up the bait that I'm going to fish. I fish a really small bait. So all the other components, really big, really oversized, but the bait is really small. And that's one of the keys to, fishing. If you go and say in Florida, the months of December, January, February, those really cold months down there, down south, where, it's just about the only place where you can really go and fish that time of year. Those fish will get up underneath those heavy mats of vegetation. They'll be buried up in there, and you really have to penetrate through that cover to catch some fish. And the thing that I want to do is I want to take into consideration the type of cover that I'm going to fish and really upscale all my tackle, like I said. So I'm fishing, a 7.4 to a 7.6, 7.8, really heavy-duty flipping stick with, a pretty good tip that I'm actually able to feel the bites, but when I set the hook, I can get the fish out of that cover as well. I'm matching that up with a minimum of a 1 ounce or all the way up to a 1.5 ounce tungsten weight. Usually a VMC flipping weight works really, really good, because tungsten is a lot smaller in size or mass than lead. So you can get virtually the same size weight, but in a much smaller package. So that really helps penetrate that cover. That 1 ounce or 1.5 ounce size weight will penetrate the cover. And it also acts in a way of being able to trigger those fish. When you go ahead and pitch in and this weight penetrates that cover and it falls, it's going to fall pretty quick. So a lot of times you'll get bit on the way down. The fish will react on your bait because it falls so fast in front of them that they don't even know what it is. They're just reacting. So that big weight serves a couple of different purposes. As far as the hook end goes, I'm fishing a small 2.0 hook because of the size of the bait that I'm going to fish. It's a VMC 3X strong hook. You don't want to fish your ordinary Texas rig or plastic rig hooks, with this type of rig, because you're fishing heavy cover. A lot of times you're going to have to go in there and dig the fish out, and there's going to be considerable pressure against that hook. So you don't want a hook that's going to be able to flex or bend when you set the hook, or be able to pull that fish out. So those 3X strong hooks are the ones that I want. But I'm fishing a 2.0 size because of the bait that I'm going to fish. And that bait could be a variety of different things. One of my favorites, or probably the favorite bait that I fish, is a Yamamoto fat baby cry. It's fairly small. It's only about 3.25, maybe 3.5 inches in length. It's a little bit fatter than the regular size small craw, so it appears like it's a little bit fatter than what it is. It's an awesome size bait for being able to pitch and flip with this heavy weight, heavy gear, heavy hook into that real dense cover. And for some reason, these small baits get me a whole lot more bites than real giant baits. And I think that's because, the water down south in Florida, where we're typically fishing this type of pattern, is fairly cold for these fish. So they don't really want a big bait. They want a downscale bait, so you get more bites with a smaller bait. I'm going to alternate colors. I'll have some darker colors like a June bug or straight black, black and blue, that sort of thing. And I'll mix it up with some green pumpkin or green pumpkin purple colors and things like that. And kind of, trial and error and find out what the fish want. Generally, the clearer the water, the more natural the bait that I want. And the dirtier the water, if we get some wind or rain or weather, that obviously happens that time of year too, then I'll switch up and go to a little bit darker color. And the last bait that I like to alternate and try to throw something different at the fish is called an Nikka. And this is a 3-inch, it's a solid body tube style bait with one of the little Yamamoto skirts on the end. It's really kind of an unpredictable fall. When this bait falls, it kind of spirals down and you hop it up and it doesn't ever fall the same way twice. So it's another bait that I may alternate with, and I like fishing really bright colors of this bait because it kind of represents a bait fish or fleeing bait fish up underneath that grass or whatever. And so I'll fish some more bait fish or solid white type colors with that bait. So a few different baits, the right gear, and you'll be able to catch a ton of fish flipping if you're happen to be down where there's some cover like that to fish. One last thing is that the depth of these different vegetation mats can be anywhere from, just a couple of feet deep to, maybe 5, 6, 7 feet deep. So I'm going to want to, if I immediately pitch my bait in there and I don't get bit on the way down, I may hop it on the bottom a little bit, and then what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to wind my bait up until it hits the bottom of the mat, and I may sit there and shake my rod 3 or 4 times. That's, sometimes those fish will be right on the bottom, sometimes they're in the middle, and sometimes they're right up underneath the mat. So you want to make sure that with every pitch that you make, you thoroughly fish throughout the water column. Even if it's only a few feet deep, it can really make a huge difference that time of year when the fish don't want to move too far to get something to eat. I'm Mike DelVisco, and I'll see you on the water. And for more bass fishing info, log on to FINS'nTALES.com or like them on Facebook. Fins and Tales, your hotspot for bass fishing stories, videos, people, places, events, how-tos, product reviews, and so much more.